3,000. History with an exclamation.
Anthony for three. Bang! That one goes down, and the game is tied. Yankees are champions of
baseball. Okay, welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to episode number 980 of the podcast. I appreciate you all tuning into BD4. Yeah, I mean, as time flies, as the snow falls, and we're getting closer and closer here to the end of football season. Championship Sunday just concluded tonight, which means that the Super Bowl is now 2 weeks away, and every single Yankees fan knows what that means, or every baseball fan, I should say, knows what that means once the Super Bowl concludes. That means pitchers and catchers will start to report to camp. And speaking of the latter part of that statement, we've been going through kind of up and down the roster this offseason, just talking about specific guys in these last couple of months. One guy that I really wanted to talk about and touch on was this guy who we're going to talk about tonight. And you've seen the title, you've seen the thumbnail. Austin Wells. Austin Wells has had an interesting start to his career. This is a kid who was drafted in the 35th round back in 2018. Played college ball at Arizona for a couple of seasons. Then the Yankees selected him because they like him so much in the 28th, or in the first round, as the 28th pick. He was the number 4 prospect in their system back in 2023. I believe he's been on the top 100 pipeline in Major League Baseball. Finally gets the call up late 2023. Plays the final month of the season, gets promoted. And he was solid in his first stint in the bigs. 19 games played. Austin Wells put up a 742 OPS, 97 OPS plus, had a F-WAR of 0.3 in that small sample. And then the next season came, 2024. It was really his first true full-time opportunity. And he was very inconsistent, a bit underwhelming, but still solid. 115 games, 718 OPS, 104 OPS plus, 3.5 F-WAR, which was carried by great defense and a lot of on base. Then last season comes. He struggles in the 2024 playoffs, whatever. Then last season comes, and it was a little more underwhelming. It was less than solid, but I still wouldn't call it awful. He played 126 games last year, produced a 712 OPS, 95 OPS plus, and he accumulated a 3.0 F-WAR, which was carried by defense and slug. So he kind of traded on base for slug from 24 to 25, which I found interesting. But one thing that's remained a constant is Austin Wells is a really good catcher. And I think when people are critical of Austin Wells, I think it's very important to realize that he is a catcher. Catchers aren't really supposed to hit. If they do hit, it's a bonus. And I think what we've seen from Austin Wells, he kind of gets grouped into this Volpe thing. The Chicken Parm Bros, but they're 2 young kids who came up, similar times. But I would hope that people, I understand people giving up on Volpe, definitely understandable. The Wells stuff, I feel like it shouldn't get to that point yet, because you could see that promise. You're talking about a third-year catcher with elite defense and mediocre offense. If that's what his floor looks like, that is not a bad floor, folks. Last season, continuing to just be a very elite pitch framer. He was plus 12 in pitch framing, which was in the 96th percentile in baseball. And pitch framing is still going to be valuable in 2026 because ABS is not yet full-time. And with him stealing strikes like he can, I think people also need to remember that it's so important on a staff like this pitching staff, this rotation, this bullpen that throws very little fastballs, that has a lot of break on their off speed. And these are guys that live outside the zone. The Yankees walked the ballpark last year. If you take Austin Wells off that team and it's Ben Rice behind the plate, that is, they might not even, make the wild card. They might not even make that wild card. It's hard to recognize what you have when that's working because you're not seeing the other side of it. That's a big problem here. But he's an excellent pitch framer. And, you go to the other aspects of catching. He's pretty average, at throwing runners out. He's pretty average at blocking balls, which those are way more situational and way less often than pitch framing, which is every single pitch. So that's the most important part of it. So he's got that. He's already got the most important part down of what you want from your big league catcher. And he calls a great game. He works well with the guys. He's got good relationships. I always think back to the Marcus Stroman stuff. Love that he wore a do-rag, made him feel comfortable. I always thought that was pretty cool. But you've seen him develop a good rapport with guys, with Cole, with Fried last year, with Rodon. They work well together. And the offense, while inconsistent as hell, you see the talent. You're talking about a big lefty swing with lift, with pull power, and a guy who hits the ball hard for a catcher. Back when Wells was a prospect, a big part of that scouting report read that he's a kid with all fields power who's going to drive the ball in the air. And that's become pretty evident at the big league level. Last season, 21-degree launch angle. League average is 12. He was 60th percentile or better in exit velo, hard hit rate, bat speed, barrel percentage. He pulled the ball in the air 23% of the time last year. League average is 17%. He had a .436 slug. He hit 21 home runs. He drove in 71 RBIs. For the old school fan, the power is evident. You can see that he has the power. He can hit a fastball. 266 batting average on fastballs last year, 527 slug. The expected numbers support it. 254 expected batting average on the heater, 480 expected slug. 13 of those 21 home runs came off fastballs, 62%. Only swung and missed 22% of the time on the fastball. Hit the ball 92 miles an hour off the bat on average. Off of fastballs. Just going by my memory, I just have a lot of pictures in my mind of Austin Wells crushing low balls. He's a really good low ball hitter because he can lift it and barrel that ball to get it out of the park and hit it in the gaps. Now, the only part of last season with Austin Wells that was different from his career splits were the lefty-righty splits. He actually hit left-handed pitching a lot better last year, but still for his career in the big leagues and also in his career as a pro ball player, it's still overwhelmingly better when he faces right-handed pitching. And it just makes sense as he's a lefty. His OPS in his career against right-handed pitching is 99 points higher. So I think in order to get the best out of Austin Wells this season, I think it's a big part of why he struggled so much last year at times. The Yankees have to get him a right-handed catcher. It was Escara last year. It was Austin Wells last year. It was Ben Rice last year. 3 lefties, right? Ever since you lost Trevino, you don't have that guy. So if the Yankees can go and sign a right-handed bat, is it going to be an outfielder, Austin Hayes, or is it going to be a catcher? I feel like if you can get a right-handed catcher, and this might come out of camp, it might come in-house, but somebody who can take the bat, put it on the shoulder, and stand in the box just to protect Wells from left-handed pitching this year, and obviously lessen the workload as the season progresses. Just to be a big league presence so Wells doesn't always have to handle left-handed pitching. I feel like that would help him a lot. He can hit righties. Got some red flags. Has some major red flags. But fixable red flags that he can adjust on. And if he does adjust, I think he will become a good player. So I want to talk about those red flags and what I mean when we get back from our first break here on episode 980 of the podcast. Stay with us on BD4. Be right back.
Quick break here, guys. Stay connected with BD4 on social media. Follow us on Instagram and X at BD4Pod, and find us on Facebook by searching BD4. Don't miss out. Join the conversation. Want more BD4? Subscribe to our YouTube channel and never miss an episode. Hit that like button, drop a comment, and share with your fellow fans. Don't forget to ring that bell so you're always the first to know when a new video drops. Love BD4 but don't have the time to sit down and watch? Don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts and Spotify so you never miss an episode. And if you're enjoying the show, leave us a 5-star rating and a quick review. It helps us grow and keeps the conversation going.
Okay, welcome back to the show. Welcome back to episode 980 of BD4. Thanks for tuning in to BD4. BD4 is a podcast where we cover the Yanks, Knicks, and sometimes every once in a while we'll do some MMA. Talking about Austin Wells tonight. And Austin Wells, we just talked about some of the promising indicators from him as a young ball player. Got some red flags. And last year, you really saw what my biggest concern was, just a massive dip in his walk rate with a massive rise in his K rate, right? If you're going to last in the big leagues, especially nowadays where the whole, 3 true outcome philosophy is very much emphasized, Austin Wells is going to have to get on base. He was not a guy who was all or nothing in 2024. But last season came, and, the chase rate skyrocketed. It went from 70th percentile, very good, to pretty below average and 41st percentile last year. 4% jump in chase rate. And because of that, he was striking out more. And because he was striking out more, he walked less, he was hitting less, he was getting on base less. The K rate in 2024 to 2025 went from 54th percentile to 17th percentile. It jumped 5%. His walk rate went from 89th percentile to 30th percentile, took a 5% dip. His batting average dipped from 229 to 219, 10 points. His on-base percentage dipped 47 points from 322 to 275. That is an insane dip in on-base. And that's what happens when you chase out of the zone. I think pitchers started pitching him a little bit differently, a little more aggressively with the off-speed and breaking stuff. And he has struggled against those types of pitches, against non-fastballs. And you're slowly seeing a little bit more and more Austin Wells get more breaking stuff. In 2023, he saw breaking balls 27% of the time. In 2024, he saw breaking balls 29% of the time. And last season, he saw a breaking ball 32% of the time. Slowly getting more breaking balls as the league finds out that he struggles against those types of pitches. Sliders, changeups. A lot of it is in the zone too, which is interesting. So it's not just chasing. A lot of it last year was in the zone for a while. He just couldn't get to it, just couldn't hit it. But when he does chase, that's when he really puts himself into trouble. He puts himself in bad counts. He presses. And if he does connect when he chases off the plate, it's not good contact. It's not his A swing. So that goes back to chase rate, pitch selectivity. Overall, on off speed and breaking last season, sub 200 batting average, sub 200 expected batting average, sub 350 slug and expected slug, 34% swing and miss rate, exit velo, 88.5 miles an hour. Can't figure it out. Couldn't figure it out. So I do have confidence that he can get back to where he was in terms of his plate discipline and start working counts again and getting on base. I have confidence because I know that's what he was labeled as when he was a top prospect in the system. You go back to the scouting reports, all you heard was Austin Wells and his hit tool, his pitch recognition, his strike zone control. So it'd be different if we were like 3-4 years in and he's not shown that once. Yeah, that'd be fair to be questionable about it. But we saw him play to that scouting report in 2024. You know? So we know that was supposed to be a part of the package and we know what's in there. But he's just got to put it all together. Again, 2024, it was all on base, no slug. 2025 was kind of the opposite. But I really do consider Austin Wells a big swing piece to this team. He's a big piece of the puzzle because if you look at how, and this might be an unpopular opinion to maybe half the fan base, but if you look at how Cashman has built the Yankee lineup the last couple of seasons now, he's finally doing it the right way. It's with lefties who tailor their swings for Yankee Stadium. Lefties who pull the ball, lift the ball, get the barrel of the bat on the ball, and hit the ball hard. Talk about Ben Rice, who does all those things. Grisham, Bellinger pulling the ball in the air, Jazz Chisholm. Wells needs to be a part of this. He's too important to not. Because you look at the Yankee lineup, and as great and deep as it is, and you can't tell me it's not, between catcher, shortstop, and third base, I know those are three defensive positions, but you need some offense if you're talking about wanting to win a World Series and match up with the depth of the Dodgers, and to be honest, as much as I hate to say it, the guys over in Queens now. You got to have as much depth as possible if you really want to assure you can have that roster to match the teams you might be seeing in the playoffs. You can't have all three of those positions, catcher, short, third, be below average again. You just can't. We did an episode about Ryan McMahon a couple of weeks ago. Definitely go check that out. But Austin Wells, in my opinion, is the most likely of those three guys, of him, McMahon, and I guess Caballero / Volpe. Wells is the most likely of those three positions to break out, or whatever you want to call it, just because of his upside. He's only 26 years old. I think he's 27 in July. But you go to his Steamer projections, and they projected his 2026 season over on Fangraphs. Steamer's got him batting .230 with a .302 on base, .423 slug, giving him a .725 OPS. Now, they usually are conservative in their projections. That's not a terrible season. Again, it's kind of similar to what we're seeing. A little better, but I would like a little bit more. You know, I'm looking at like Austin Wells. If he can put it all together, somebody who can hover around 230, yes. But I would like the on base to be a little closer to 320, 330. The slug, sit right there. That's fine. 420 to 430. Give you an OPS somewhere in the mid sevens, right? 740 to 760. Probably translates to like a 110 to 115 OPS plus. Doesn't need to go higher than that. That's perfect for a catcher who plays great defense. So again, he's key. He's X factor. You know, your playoff player to watch, whatever you want to call it. Because if the Yankees want to go far, I think it's with him. And to reiterate, he's a catcher. So the results are not far off. League average last season for catchers in 2025, 306 on base percentage, 395 slug. Austin Wells in 2025 was 31 points below average in on base. He was also 42 points above average in slug. So the power's there. The consistency is not, right? Because the slug, you know, that can be inflated from home runs and extra base hits during a small stretch. But if you look at a high on base percentage, that's usually a sign of more consistency because you have to work that figure up for a lot longer to get that where it is. A slug jumps a lot more. So you want the on base numbers to be a little bit better. It's all going to come back to that chase rate, how he handles off speed and breaking. He's never going to be an amazing hitter just looking at the raw numbers. He's always been a bit of a streaky hitter. You know, when he first came up in 2023, his first 11 games, 372 OPS. His last 8, 12-14. Back in 2024, his first 14 games, 347 OPS. His next 80 games, 861 OPS. In his last 21, 411 OPS. Last season, his first 32 games, 759 OPS. Solid. His next 74, 666 OPS. And then his last 20, 806. So the extremes are very high and very low. The good streaks are very good, but the bad streaks last a little too long. You're just hoping to get more of a happy medium. And I think you can. I believe in the bat. I want to know what you guys think. Do you think Austin Wells is capable of more? Do you think there's room to improve there? Do you think he's hit a ceiling? Let me know. I appreciate you all very much. And I will see you in the next episode of BD4. Later. Hey guys, thank you for listening to BD4. Be sure to follow us on social media, subscribe to us on YouTube, and give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. We'll see you next time.